Patrick Dorgu has officially joined Manchester United, and his arrival could significantly impact Ruben Amorim's tactical setup. This analysis explores how Dorgu fits into Amorim's system, his potential influence on United's left flank, and whether he can address the club's persistent issues in that position. Will he thrive as the dynamic fullback Amorim requires, or will he face challenges adapting to the Premier League? Follow us, let's break it down and analyze the pros and cons. Please don't forget to follow, like and comment on Gigasport TV all social media platform. Let's analyze.
All right, so let's get started with this tactical analysis video. But first, let's get a couple of things out of the way. I believe this is Manchester United's best lineup currently. Kobbie Mainoo has missed out, not because I don't rate him, but simply because I think that Garnacho and Amad in those number 10 positions provide us with better balance currently than Kobbie Mainoo. The second thing we need to talk about is, of course, Dorgu's environment. Before we talk about him and what he can bring to Ruben Amorim tactically, we need to talk about the players around him. And the first one is, of course, Lisandro Martinez, who has truly grown into his new role as a left-sided libero in this system. One of the players that I enjoy watching the most currently. We've seen him stepping into these wide positions, playing as a traditional left back. We've seen him attacking the half spaces, scoring goals as he's done against Fulham and Liverpool. He's assisted goals. He puts in some pretty neat assists and diagonal balls into space. Probably currently our best player, I think. And I think that Martinez's growth into this new role is perfect timing for Dorgu. Next, let's talk about Bruno. Of course, Bruno now plays as part of the double pivot in this system. Therefore, he has much of the ball, and then he has the game ahead of him. Therefore, he acts more as a playmaker. And then there is, of course, Garnacho. Now, the thing with Garnacho is that he's not a traditional 10. His natural tendency is to actually step into the wide areas, to hug the touchline, either to get the ball into his feet and dribble at the opposition, or to make runs in behind. So Garnacho is actually a runner. However, the problem with this area right here is obviously the fact that when you play someone like Mazraoui or Diogo Dalot in this role, what you end up with is two playmakers, one runner, and then one player that is kind of really not suited to whatever patterns are being used in this area of the pitch. But now, of course, with Dorgu, what can happen is that as Martinez steps into these wide positions and then Bruno collects the ball more, basically Martinez and Bruno act as those deeper playmakers. Garnacho, of course, stretching the line and going into those wide areas or making runs in behind the defense. What happens is that Dorgu, who has a natural tendency, and it's something that I showed in that player analysis video that I made a couple of days ago, he has the tendency into attacking the half spaces. Therefore, what you're going to end up with is literally a left-sided area that is divided into playmakers, Martinez and Bruno, and of course, two willing runners, Garnacho and Dorgu, with, of course, Garnacho taking care of the wide areas, the touchline area, and then Dorgu, of course, attacking these half spaces right here. And Dorgu can do a much better job than if we had someone like Dalot, for example, or Mazraoui, simply because his attacking instinct is actually much better than them, because he is naturally a forward and a left back at the same time, okay? So I think that this is one of the main ways that Patrick Dorgu is definitely going to be key to Ruben Amorim's system. However, there are other ways where he can help as well. And the first thing we're going to talk about, so the reason I have the opposition here in a 4-3-3 formation is because in the Premier League, most of the teams we face play a variation of 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1, etc. And we do have issues whenever we press them, because in this Amorim system, when you go and press the opposition, generally speaking, it's something that looks like this, okay? So you have the opposition left back right here. But then what happens, because here we have this double pivot shape right here, what happens is that this player right here, is completely free. And generally speaking, these are, players like Tonali or McAllister, for example, Jorginho for Arsenal. And so they are playmakers. And so the game runs through them. Therefore, they are danger men. You cannot just let them have all the time and space. So what happens is that Xerxes is actually stuck between these, these two positions. Does he press the center back or the defensive midfielder? Now, how do you solve this issue? Well, actually, when Ruben Amorim first signed for Manchester United, I made a video analyzing how he changes and adapts his tactics based on opposition. And I used a game between Sporting and PSV Eindhoven, where I was really amazed by just how tactically flexible Sporting were. PSV, of course, play in a 4-3-3 shape, similar to a team like Arsenal or Liverpool. And Ruben Amorim, instead of using a 3-4-3 shape in the press, he actually morphed and adapted to the opposition. So basically what he did is this. The first step is Mazraoui. Mazraoui stepping into a traditional right back position from the right wing back, with then De Ligt, Maguire, and Martinez as a left back, just forming a traditional back four. So the opposition have the ball. Then what happens is that Xerxes stays with the center backs. And then what happens is that Bruno attacks the defensive midfielder, the opposition defensive midfielder. And then what happens here is that Dorgu comes in towards this player, and then Martinez takes this one. Therefore, you are able to create a situation where you are going 1v1 with the opposition players. Therefore, it makes it harder for them to build up from the back. Now, of course, Ruben Amorim has shown his preference towards a much more conservative pressing style, in that pentagon shape where they wait for key moments in order to trigger the press with just 1 to 3 players without compromising the defensive shape. But you cannot use that all the time. It depends on the opposition. It depends on the scoreline. It depends on which stage of the game. And a player like Dorgu, because of his athleticism and the intensity that he brings in the press and how he gets into people's faces, he can actually be just the right player to use in this kind of system. And then, of course, there is obviously another way, and to me, an extremely vital way. This is why I need to give Maguire the ball back. There you go, Harry. Okay? And it is the build-up phase. Because and here is, again, another key problem that we have is that, again, this area right here, the double pivot, is actually the Achilles heel in this Amorim system, means these two players, Bruno and Ugarte, don't really get involved in the build-up. Now, I can live with Ugarte not getting involved in the build-up. He's mainly a defensive player. But Bruno, we definitely need him to be involved. So basically, traditionally, what happens is that we have the left wing back. Sorry, where did you go? Okay. Sorry. So the left wing back over there, and then the right wing back Mazraoui over here, with, of course, Ahmad and Garnacho also wide. So what we end up with is this 5 defensive shape right here of these players, but then the other players are actually high up and wide. But the problem here is that this area right here is completely empty, and there is no verticality. So how do we solve this situation? Because we've seen it many times where Maguire would have the ball, give it to Martinez, Martinez back to Maguire, Bruno would come in a little bit deeper, and then Martinez gives it to Bruno, Bruno to Martinez, and then it's just stale. Nothing happens. What you can do is this, okay? So what happens? And then here you have to follow with these steps, okay? So again, same thing here. Ahmad and Mazraoui and Garnacho and Dorgu both on the wide areas is kind of obsolete. Okay, you don't need 2 wide players in those situations. What you need is actually verticality to actually get the most out of Xerxes and Højlund, because if they try to hold up the play, is actually to play the ball to players that are close to them. But in this system, the players are just too far from each other. So basically what you need to do, and this is why I picked Mazraoui instead of Dalot. Basically what you have is this. Bruno, we need you further up. Bruno enjoys his free roaming role, moves into this half space area right here, okay? Ugarte shifts towards the left with Mazraoui stepping in. So we still have that same shape with the 5 here at the back in the build-up, but now we get Bruno in a more attacking zone, in a more attacking area where he can have a much higher impact, okay? Ahmad, who of course enjoys roaming free, and also because he's left-footed, he actually enjoys to come into these wide areas, collect the ball, and then turn at the opposition and then make runs into this wide space. So he's great actually when it comes to just occupying the wide spaces. Same thing for Garnacho, stretching the play. And then what you can have is Dorgu again stepping into this half space right here. This provides us with much better verticality. As you can see, there's actually much more opportunities to play much more extensive football and involve much more players in the build-up phase than we did previously. And I think that Dorgu can actually be a key player in this system because, like I said earlier, not only is he a natural left wing back, he's also a natural attacker. Therefore, if he is in these areas right here, he can use his pace to play off Xerxes and then find himself in situations where he can score some amazing goal or create some amazing chance.